I will be giving this NPTEL course on bonds and bands in solids. So the course content is going to be the following. That is, I will be discussing mainly the electronic states in solids and the properties of these electronic states uh, associated with these solids. Okay, like for example, metallicity or other properties. We'll come to that one as we go along. So initially, what I'm going to do is I will start with the chemist approach. So the chemist approach basically is to get a Hamiltonian, which is very similar to the Hamiltonian of molecules. In order to do this, one does two basic approximations to the many-body Hamiltonian, which involves both the electrons and the nuclei. And the first approximation is known as the Born-Oppenheimer approximation. I'll introduce that. And the second approximation is known as the independent electron approximation or the molecular orbital approximation, and I will also introduce that one. Once these two approximations are made, we get a Hamiltonian corresponding to that of a single electron moving in a potential. And this potential in molecules is a potential due to the nuclei and other effective field of other atoms in the molecule, whereas in the solid, this potential is due to all other atoms in the solid in a mean field sense, and will have a periodicity, which is the periodicity of the lattice. First, what I will do is I will show you how you can pictorially represent molecular orbitals. For example, start from a hydrogen molecule, go to 3 hydrogen atoms, 4 hydrogen atoms, and so forth on a chain, and then show how the energy levels evolve and give rise to energy bands. And I'll also show you what are the properties of these kinds of energy bands and how you can represent them, either very simply as just two parallel lines on the energy scale with wiggly lines which are connecting the two parallel lines, or using density of states, or using a more detailed description such as the energy band structure, which is the spaghetti diagrams that you may see in many papers and textbooks. So after having done that, I'll also introduce from this pictorially how one can think of certain phase transitions from metal to insulators, which are known as the piles instability. And having done that, I will then move over to a physicist approach for dealing with electronic states in molecules. And I'll start from the very beginning of the physicist approach, which is the approach due to Drude, which is a classical free electron gas. And using the classical free electron gas, I will obtain various properties such as specific heat, conductivity, thermal conductivity, some Hall coefficients, and so forth. And in the process, I'll also show you the prediction of Drude's theory, which came true. Basically, that the Lorentz number is properly predicted, which is a ratio of thermal conductivity to electrical conductivity multiplied by temperature. But this was purely an accident, and the specific heat itself was not correctly given. And so Drude theory failed in many aspects. In order to correct that, what Sommerfeld did was to introduce the quantum free electron gas. And in the quantum free electron gas, he was able to correct for both the specific heat and other properties like magnetic susceptibility and so forth. But still, the quantum free electron gas was incapable of explaining many properties. Most fundamentally, it could not explain what was a metal, when something is a metal, when something is an insulator, or why you have carriers which are apparently positively charged in metals, which is shown by Hall effect. So these are the things that were drawbacks of the free electron theory. And from there, I go on to nearly free electron theory, where the potential, which is periodically, is assumed to be very weak and treated as a perturbation. And from this picture, we get the energy bands and band gaps. And from this, one can explain both how a metal is formed and also how a metal can have, for example, carriers of positive charges. And from here, I'll go on to introducing other concepts associated with energy band theory, such as density of states, effective mass, and then Fermi surface and its measurements, which involve cyclotron resonance, Hussbel-Keiner resonance, de Haas-Van Alphen effect, and so forth. And after having done these things, where I have done covered nearly free electron model and all the basics of energy band theory. I will go over to methods of energy band calculations. And in the methods of energy band calculations, I'll first talk about the tight binding model, which is actually an extension of what the chemist approach was, which I would have spoken about in the beginning of the course. And then I'll also talk about the orthogonalized plane waves and the pseudo potential technique. These three are fairly important as far as I am concerned in understanding energy band theory. But I'll also talk a little more about energy band calculations, such as the augmented plane wave methods and Green's function techniques. For those who are actually auditing the course, these two topics are going to be optional. You need not look at them. And also, when I'm talking about these tight binding approaches and so forth, I'll also talk about symmetry in the K space for the in the Brillouin zone for a given wave vector and how one draws those energy band diagrams along various symmetry axes within a Brillouin zone. Having done that, now I will go over to things such as impurities in solids. So I'll first talk about a single impurity in a solid and how one can get the energy levels of the single impurity. And then I will talk about Friedel oscillations, which shows you how an impurity gives rise to an oscillating charge density in the vicinity of the impurity in a metal. And this is for the single impurity. And then I'll go over to disordered systems, which are basically off-diagonal disorder. In other words, the disorder is not off-diagonal, but disorder is diagonal, which means that the orbital energies are disordered. And I'll also take give you, explain to you what is off-diagonal and diagonal disorder at that point. And then I'll talk about Anderson localization and Mott-Anderson transition in disordered systems. Then I will discuss a few of the simple concepts that we have used, such as crystal momentum, because crystal momenta is very different from the actual physical momentum of an electron, and I'll tell you how it is different. And I'll also talk about other symmetries, which are not physical symmetries in terms of geometry of the solid, but based on things like time reversal invariance. So I will introduce a time reversal symmetry, and I'll also introduce spin orbital interactions. And using spin orbital interactions and time reversal symmetry, I will show you how the energy levels in the band picture evolve from, say, from the zone center as we move away. And I'll also talk a little bit about Rashba splitting and Dresselhaus spin orbital interaction. So I will talk about both the Dresselhaus spin orbital interaction and the Rashba splitting. And this covers non-interacting electron picture. And I will come to the interaction part, where we will consider explicit interaction between electrons. So far in band theory, only a mean field interaction is what is taken into account, which is a Hartree-Fock approximation in some sense. So in this case, I will show you how the problem of molecular orbital theory, which is actually the dissociation problem of the hydrogen molecules, becomes a problem in energy band theory, and how this problem can be rectified by considering the electron-electron interactions. And in the context, I will also talk about the Mott-Hubbard transition, and then I'll talk about a simple picture of electron correlations in solids and their manifestations. For example, magnetism in solids is purely a manifestation of the electron correlations. And I will also talk about things like what happens to the electronic excitations when you have electron-electron repulsions taken into account explicitly. And finally, I'll also come into other excitations in the solids, such as excitons in solids. And excitons in solids correspond to two kinds, which are Frenkel excitons and Mott-Wannier excitons. And Frenkel excitons are more common amongst molecular solids, and they give rise to kind of aggregates which are known as the J and H aggregates. I'll discuss a little bit about these things. And I think this is what I'm going to be covering in the solids, the bonds and bands in solids. But if there is some time, then what I will go is going to a little bit of phonon band structure, and After discussing the phonon band structure, I will also discuss electron-phonon interactions in a qualitative way and how electron-phonon interactions can actually give rise to interesting properties such as superconductivity. But I'm not sure whether I'll find time to do that one. So this is going to be the general structure of the course, and there will be two tutors in the course, Dr. Daya Sindhu De and her to-be Dr. Sambhanath Das. And these two people will assist you with any doubts, and there will also be regular assignments which have to be turned in and which will be evaluated by these two tutors, and you can also contact the tutors for any other problems. I hope you will enjoy the course, and thank you very much. Bye.